Welcome to another episode of the Jampack Report today for November the 26th of 2020. Happy Thanksgiving to those that do choose to celebrate it. Of course, if you are celebrating, I hope you do so safely, social distance over Zoom with friends and family, or perhaps have a small gathering with the people that you live with. But whatever you're doing, I do hope you have fun, you stay safe, and you find some time to get a couple of good games in between the giant meals that we're all going to be indulging in. But on top of that, if you do want to literally pick up some new games, I released my Black Friday guide for Target, Walmart, GameStop, and Best Buy last night, and of course you can find that right over there. It gives you everything you need to know to get the best deals this holiday season, especially during this big Black Friday kickoff. But with that being said, one little group that's going to be having a lot to be thankful for, that's PlayStation, because the PS5 is the biggest console launch in history. The PlayStation 5 has outsold its forebear in the first 2 weeks, making it not only the biggest PlayStation launch, but the biggest console launch of all time. The official PlayStation Twitter account confirmed the next-gen console had surpassed the initial sales of the PlayStation 4, although the company has yet to share official sales figures. Back in 2013, PlayStation's then CEO Andrew House said the PS4 had sold 2.1 million units in just over 2 weeks, declaring it an impressive and record-setting accomplishment for our company and for our industry, end quote. A few days later, PlayStation quoted analyst at DFC Intelligence who confirmed the PS4 was the biggest launch in the history of games consoles. Today's message from PlayStation indicates the industry has a new record holder. Quote, "We want to thank gamers everywhere for making the PS5 launch our biggest console launch ever," the platform holder wrote. "Demand for PS5 is unprecedented, so we wanted to confirm that more PS5 inventory will be coming to retailers before the end of the year. Please stay in touch with your local retailers." Of course, PS5 launched almost 2 weeks ago on November 12th in North America, Japan, Australia, New Zealand, Singapore, and South Korea, arriving in all other major markets except for China on November the 19th. Now, Sony is expecting its next-gen console to outperform its predecessor by the end of the current fiscal year. The PS4 sold 7.6 million units during the comparable period. Microsoft has also fared well, announcing earlier this month that Series X and S were also the biggest launch in Xbox history. These consoles are flying off the shelves, and first and foremost, congratulations to PlayStation, because from what I've heard, the PlayStation 5 is fantastic. I have not heard too many complaints. Of course, there are a couple of bugs here and there, as any new console will have, but it sounds like it's very, very solid hardware. Of course, I went with the Xbox route because I'm a big fan of Game Pass and I love the Microsoft ecosystem, but I will absolutely be picking up a PlayStation 5 in the future. Now, the good news here is that more PlayStation 5s are on the way. If you are on social media, you, as well as I, have seen plenty of scalpers that have taken advantage of bot systems and ordered thousands of PlayStation 5s, often having more than retailers actually have, which is very, very disappointing. But it sounds like just holding out a couple of weeks could net you a big benefit by just being able to buy one at street price. So hopefully by the spring, we will have an abundance of new consoles to go out and purchase, but it sounds like it's still going to be pretty scarce throughout the holiday season, but for good reason. The PS5 is selling incredibly well, and of course it is an incredible console. Now, when it comes to the shock value here, not really, there is none, because the PlayStation 4 was monumental, and it garnered a lot of love for the PlayStation brand. Of course, coming off of the Xbox 360, the PS4 had some ground to make up, because the PS3, while it recovered well in the last part of its life, was kind of the underdog through the first chunk of the generation. Now, the tables have turned, and Microsoft is making up for lost ground, and they have been for a couple of years now. But ultimately, the growth of gaming itself, on top of a pandemic that has forced many people to be hanging out at home, is creating a lot of demand for a new gaming console that has a lot of new bells and whistles, incredible DualSense functionality, and on top of that, amazing graphical performance. So, of course, the PS5 will continue to sell incredibly well, and it will blow PlayStation 4 out of the water, no doubt. But a new PSVR headset could be on the way, which kind of goes against the grain of some comments Jim Ryan made earlier this year. A patent has been uncovered that points towards a new PSVR headset in development for the PS5. The patent was uncovered earlier today, or I should say yesterday, through Dutch website Let's Go Digital. Two of the big features for the redesigned PS5 headset, according to the patent, are haptic feedback and LED lighting being utilized through the new PSVR headset. What a horribly written sentence. Haptic feedback is already used through the PlayStation 5's DualSense controller, chiefly to provide a realistic feel to the actions the player is currently seeing their screen. For example, they're also missing the word on here, seeing on their screen. Did anyone read this? I'm not complaining. I'm thankful today. It's Thanksgiving. I'm thankful for the opportunity to read this article by Haroon Cryer. Anyways, where were we? For example, when a ship rockets past Astrobot, the controller rumbles accordingly. If you're wondering how the hell a virtual reality headset uses haptic feedback, you're not alone, but there are headsets that are already actually boasting the feature, using it to add texture to sounds. That's a gross sentence. This actually is not the first time a patent relating to an updated PSVR headset has been uncovered. Earlier this year in September, a patent revealing a one-handed controller with a single analog stick was unearthed from Sony, much like the design for the Valve Index VR controllers. It is worth remembering that the current PSVR headset works just fine with PS5, although you do need to have an adapter, which is being given away for free, and some games are even getting a bit of a boost. I believe that Blood and Truth got an update to 120 frames per second, something along those lines, but again, Jim Ryan said that he didn't believe in the future of VR. Of course, it would be shocking for PlayStation to not support it because of how hard they pushed VR during the last generation, but I don't know that it's going to be a focus for the company going forward. It would be interesting because there really is not another affordable competitor in the space. Microsoft doesn't have a VR headset, Nintendo has the cardboard VR, if you will, but it's not really the same idea. And so ultimately, this is your best bet for an entry-level headset that's not using a mobile phone and that doesn't require a high-end PC. So maybe we will see a comeback for VR, but it's interesting to hear that a new patent has been uncovered after Jim Ryan's comments that the VR space is not really going to be the focus going forward. Now, Marvel's Avengers is a game that came out this year, does not have VR, but guess what else it doesn't have? A profit. Square Enix has yet to earn back the money it spent on the development of Marvel's Avengers. In its most recent earnings report, spotted by IGN, the company said its HD game segment posted a 7 billion yen, roughly $67 million loss for the quarter. Yosuke Matsuda, the president of Square Enix, attributed the downturn to a combination of poor sales and an expensive advertising campaign the company ran to promote the release of the game. Quote, the HD game subsegment posted an operating loss as initial sales of Marvel's Avengers were lower than we had expected and unable to completely offset the amortization of the game's development cost, he said. The executive went on to say Square Enix hopes DLC like the Kate Bishop add-on developer Crystal Dynamics announced last week will make the game profitable over the long run. To find out Marvel's Avengers has been struggling is not too surprising. When Engadget previewed the game ahead of its release, they did not come away with a strong positive impression of what it had to offer. It also highlights that live service games are a risky proposition for publishers. Much hyped titles like Anthem have fizzled out, and even a heavyweight like Destiny has struggled at times, leading to a split between the game's developer and publisher. Even with a lucrative property like the Avengers, there is no guarantee a game will find an audience that can sustain years of ongoing development. Again, not really shocking. Now, I have seen some people say that you can't read into this too far and that it very well could have turned a profit or it could have hit their expectations internally, but clearly it was not the standout success that Square Enix had wanted, and for good reason. It's just not solid from what I've heard. Now, I have gotten comments here when I've talked about Marvel's Avengers before that do say the game is a fun experience, especially with friends, etc., etc. But for a game to be successful long term, it has to bring more to the table. And it sounds like developers are working on it. I don't want to write this game off and be a negative Nancy about a game that I'm not going to play and that isn't really designed for me. I'm not a big fan of live service games, but for others, this is right up their alley. And of course, The Avengers is an incredibly huge IP. Marvel in general is massive in today's day and age, and so to have a solid Marvel's Avengers game would not be a bad thing, but it's just, nailing it down and actually making a solid game. So we'll see how it goes. But it looks like Marvel's Avengers has officially not turned a profit, and some new comments have confirmed that from Square Enix. But Metro Exodus is a game that looks gorgeous, and it's going to look even better in 2021 with a new enhancement coming for the Xbox Series X, the S, and the PlayStation 5. Metro series developer 4A Games was acquired by Embracer Group earlier this year and is already sharing more details on its plans for the future. Today, for the studio's 10th anniversary, 4A Games confirmed that the 2019 shooter Metro Exodus is going to receive a free next-generation update on the Xbox Series X, S, and PlayStation 5. We don't have exact details right now, but this update will include faster loading times, higher frame rates, increased resolution, and ray tracing. Additionally, you won't have to rebuy the game as long as you were upgrading within the same console family, so you can enjoy the main content and any DLC you've already purchased without spending anything extra. In addition to these upgrades for Metro Exodus, the now 150-strong team is working on the next Metro game, which is being developed for PC and the newest consoles. A single-player story will be at the center of the experience, but the team is also looking into multiplayer alongside Saber Interactive. 4A Games emphasizes, however, that it's early days and things could change as the multiplayer might not even be packaged in with the single-player game. So potentially you're looking at 2 different Metro games that are on their way, and that's a topic for another day, but it's nice to know more is coming. Of course, Metro Exodus is a very realistic shooter. In my mind, I look at this as a combination of Fallout and Escape from Tarkov. It's incredibly gritty and it can be very gruesome at times, but it is a gorgeous title, and of course I'm looking forward to diving in on the PlayStation 5 or the Xbox Series X in 2021. Did you like that little emphasis, the PlayStation? But Metro Exodus is one that I never actually got around to playing, so it sounds like I'll be holding off to get a bit of a better experience on the newest hardware. Now, of course, if you do want to check out some games on the PlayStation 5, there are a couple of new freebies coming your way with PlayStation Plus in December. PlayStation Plus subscribers will get access to 3 games in December as part of their subscription: Just Cause 4, Rocket Arena, and Worms Rumble. All 3 games will be available to download on PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 from December the 1st through January the 4th of 2021. Square Enix and Avalanche Studios' Just Cause 4 was released for PS4 in 2018. In the review of the action game, the Polygon called Rico Rodriguez's open world adventure a retread of old ideas, but argued that, quote, doing the Just Cause thing of mixing up modes of destruction is still fun. It's fine. I played some of it. It's okay. Rocket Arena was released in July. The colorful 3v3 shooter was developed by Final Strike Games and published by Electronic Arts. It's a kid-friendly shooter that blends Quake-style combat with Smash Bros. Levels of violence. And finally, Worms Rumble will make its PlayStation debut in December, bringing 32-player real-time action cross-play multiplayer to PS4 and PS5. Of course, November's PlayStation Plus offerings, Bugsnax, Middle-earth: Shadow of War, and Hollow Knight Void Heart Edition are available to download through November the 30th, so get on that if you do want to jump on board. Overwhelmingly fine. I feel like the PlayStation Plus offering since the PlayStation 5 launched has been relatively underwhelming, but of course that's not really their focus right now. There's a lot of big games coming out, and it's hard to pick PlayStation 5 games to give away when ultimately they're all kind of hot commodities, and on top of that, you really just want to sell them. You don't really want to give them away because they can easily be sold. Like for instance, in my mind, Godfall should have been a PlayStation Plus game. That would have been monumental and it would have made the game much more well received. But alternatively, they just sold it for $70. So either way you go, you can kind of flip-flop on that one. However, that rounds out today's episode of the Jampack Report. If you enjoyed today's show, drop me a like down below and let me know what stories caught your eye today, but specifically, how do you feel about the PlayStation 5? Do you like the look? Are you picking one up? Have you been lucky enough to get one? And how do you feel about it breaking the records set by the PlayStation 4? Would love to hear what you have to say. But until tomorrow, you guys have a fantastic rest of your day. I'll talk to you soon, and peace.